This pastor did what I think most people probably wouldn't do. Might not have the courage, might not have the humility, might not even have the vulnerability, if you will. But I think this was very powerful, a moment that even he explained all men should see and even all people should see. I think that too many times when it comes to pastors, we put them in such high places that we forget to remember that they're just regular humans like us responding to a call. They're just as imperfect as we are. They're just as, you know, screwed up, wrong, anything, they go through life just like we do. Is what I'm trying to say. They're just responding to the call of God. And it was eye opening and it was inspiring to see this pastor do what he did in front of his entire congregation. Let's get into this. We'll talk about it.
Pastors and families go through just like y'all do. And SG, I'm never going to get up here and fake it and act like everything is perfect in my life. I can just be honest and transparent right now. There's some things that I had to pray for this weekend alone that God had to check me on as a senior pastor. And I never am a senior pastor before I am a man of God first. And I've been married 31 years to an incredible woman. But this weekend, we had some differences. And this morning, I had to make sure, before I got up here in front of y'all, I had to make sure we was right. And I had to apologize. You don't even know what I need to apologize for. But not only did I apologize, Shalon, at our crib, I'm apologizing again to you right now. Because I never want you to miss God because of me. And I'm holding myself accountable because I know what this is for us and everybody else just listening to a conversation we're having. I know both of us grew up with pastors as dads, and I know what that looks like, and I never want to be a false representation. So I'm saying I apologize to you in front of all these people, and I'm making sure that we right, and I'm giving you these flowers because you my boo. And I always want to make sure before I'm right with these people and before I fake a smile with these people that what we see on stage is real. I have to make sure we right, babe. And that's what prayer did for me. It made me have to come to you. I'm showing men of God in this church. We ain't gonna be no fake Christians. I was out of line, and that's the woman that got my back 24 hours a day. I feel God releasing something and breaking something. And I don't know what other brothers in this room. You need to be right with God. I'm telling y'all, I'm not going to be no fake, phony preacher that gets up here and preaches knowing that there's something wrong down there.
Powerful. It takes a lot. I always say leaders, lead by example, man, when it comes to those positions. And sometimes that means putting ourselves out there. Sometimes that means exposing yourself. So people can really learn and understand that life isn't about the cookies and cream and the beautiful rainbows, because there are those trying times. So how do we get through the trying times? What does that look like? What do we do? Well, it takes humility. That's number one. That's easy to tell right off the bat. And he says something powerful to her. The reason why it's important for me to humble myself and to apologize and to clear this mess is because I don't want you to miss God on my behalf. Now, I know he's not saying it in a way where he thinks that he's powerful enough to control God divining and intervening No, 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 I know he's not saying that. But what happens is that when you have an issue with a person, you're mad and they're mad. And anger is something that the enemy likes us to have because it can grow and foster into something else. So when we're angry, we're not quick to go pray sometimes. When we're angry, we're not quick to, resolve the issue. We're actually more faster to isolating ourselves, faster to maybe seeking revenge on others. And that's kind of where the enemy wants us to go off. So because I may have done something wrong to you, like in that situation, that pastor, that man of God saying, because he did something wrong, he was out of line with his wife as a husband and she's upset because of that. Maybe for good reason. We don't know the whole story. Like he said, we don't need to know why he's sorry. We just need to know that he is sorry because she knows. But what's interesting is that the important part was because he put her in a position by apologizing and humbling himself to where she can now feel validated, let it go, and move on. And now she can be in a position where she can hear from God. Maybe even pray for her husband. Not be angry. Sometimes we can get angry so much. They always say divorce is an all-time high because arguments, they start at one thing and then they end up being something else, and then it gets super big, and then before you know it, it's out of hand and people are separating because anger, it starts at one thing and then it grows and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. This was inspiring because it takes a lot, because I know we have a lot of leaders that like to have their families and their marriages and everything like as if it's perfect and everything is, there's no issues, everyone is we're all wealthy and everything is good. And I know people like to have that image, if you will. But by being vulnerable, confessing to one another where we've fallen short, it can help someone else. Do not feel shameful. Do not be ashamed of what you've gone through, what you've experienced, the mistakes you've made. Do not be ashamed of those things. If you've come out of them on the right side, you've got a testimony. You've got something that you can use to share, to speak, to tell, to help somebody who may be going through the same thing that you've already gone through. If we would allow ourselves to be a testimony, to shed God's light, to demonstrate and show to other people that He is a Savior, that He is a healer, that He is a Redeemer. But sometimes that pride, man, pride of man, anger, those two things, man, pride and anger. God tells us a lot in the Bible to rid ourselves of those things, not to have pride, not to have anger. Because those two things right there, man, it's like they put you in a chokehold. They make you think that you're doing right, but you're not. Make you feel like you're okay, but you're really not. It's an interesting take, man. Shout out to this man of God. Humbling, man. God always calls us to be humble, but can we be humble enough to put the light on us if what we're shining it on isn't the most beautiful thing to shine it on? If we're releasing our own skeletons, do we want to share God's goodness in our life to that extent? Or are we still too ashamed of what God has brought us from? Because it's still current. There's every day we make mistakes. So every day there's something that we can learn from and something that we can use as a testimony to share and to see even God's goodness in our lives. That's all I got for you guys on this one, man. Appreciate it if you stayed all the way to the end. To the next one, guys. I'm out.